Gods don't always come from greatness.
I mean, the meditation might have turned up.
Whoa!
Oh my God! Armada finally turning up right now. He's like, dude.
They aren't always born as gods.
Armada, are you real? Armada? Armada!
Some gods arrive from far away and no one sees their ascension coming.
If Armada wins this thing, people are gonna go fucking crazy.
Oh,
They will.
Some gods earn their godhood, even when no one else believes they can.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow,
okay,
that was-
Oh my God! I can't believe he got that! Sniper strike
Adam Armada Lindgren was born on March 28, 1993 in Gothenburg, Sweden. Armada was born into a large family, the fifth of 10 siblings, and it was through them that he discovered Smash. His older brother, Armada Aniolas Lindgren, took him to a local tournament in 2004, which kicked off his love of competitive Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Originally, I started playing Smash 64. It was my older brother, Aniolas, also my former teammate. He borrowed Smash 64 from a friend of his, and we liked the game. So when Melee came out, it was very natural for us to buy that game. And we played it in a casual way for a few years. And then Aniolas heard about an upcoming tournament fairly close to where we live. So he asked me if I wanted to tag along, and I've always loved competing and I've always loved Melee. So that's pretty much how it all started.
But while Armada did not succeed at first, he kept pushing. 2 years later, he switched mains from Marth to Peach and started beating his local rivals.
I feel like it started off pretty slowly at first. We were not that many players in Sweden. Like, tournaments that happened roughly had like 30 people maybe. Eventually, a year, 1.5 years in, I climbed up to top 10. But as I said, it was not that many players to begin with. But then I went to a tournament in early 2007, which was roughly 2 years after my first tournament. And going into the tournament, I was a Marth main. I made Marth for roughly 1.5 years. And I walked away from that tournament as a Peach main because that tournament, I did end up having a few matches in a row where it made more sense for me to play Peach. I remember playing against IVP in losers at some point, and Aniolas already played against him in pools and beat him with his Peach. So it was like, yeah, Adam, I think you should play your Peach instead of your Marth. I think that's gonna be the right call.
But being a local legend was not enough. He wanted more. Armada attended Renaissance of Smash 4, the European national tournament. He knew he wasn't strong enough to win, but he learned something important there.
We always had like once a year, Renaissance of Smash, and that was like basically like the European Championship. And that was coming up in July that year, so I had a few more months to practice, and I started to feel very confident. I kind of look at it like, you know, when you have a puzzle and you've been putting enough pieces together and it all makes sense, you know where to put the next pieces. That kind of what it felt like for me in Melee. It was like I had enough of an understanding of the game where each next step felt very, like much easier than before.
He took the lessons he learned from Renaissance of Smash to heart. He kept working, never giving up. Armada placed third at the Epita Smash Arena 2, Europe's biggest Melee tournament. Then he placed first at Smash Attack, which Armada won from the losers bracket. Armada returned to France for Epita Smash Arena 3, placing first again, beating Amsah once more while cementing his place as Europe's best smasher. But it was not enough. Europe's scene was smaller than North America's, and players rarely traveled between regions to compete in Smash tournaments. Prize pools were low, especially in Europe, and few Smash players could rely on Melee as a full-time job. But North America was where the best players were, and Armada wanted to prove that he was among the game's elite.
Going to the US was very expensive, and I actually ended up borrowing like $1,000 from my grandparents because I was like, I want to go to the US at least once. Because Melee was not in the strongest state, especially not in 2008. It had a very rough period of time. So I was like, you never know how long the game is going to be around. I want to be able to go at least once. And before Genesis, the best player in Europe had never competed with the best Americans. So a lot of the US players, they were like, oh no, Armada, he's not good. He's not going to make top 32. Some people thought I was going to struggle in pools. But for me, I was using all of these words as motivation. I was like, all right, now I'm gonna practice harder, and then when I perform well, I can literally say that you are wrong.
At the time, Genesis was the largest Melee tournament ever held, and the competition was fierce. The era we now know as the era of the Five Gods was just beginning, and almost every top player was in attendance. On his way to the grand finals, Armada brought down Lucky, DaShizWiz, Mewtwo King, and even defeated Mango, America's best player, in the winners finals. But Mango was not going down without a fight. He beat Hungrybox in the losers finals for another shot at Armada, and he made it count.
Playing that match, I was just like, you know, pretty much singing along the song. I was like so relaxed. I was like, regardless of what happens at this point, I know that I performed well and Europe will be proud. I still obviously tried to win, but it was kind of a relief that now I've proved myself enough, so now I should not feel as much pressure.
Armada made Europe proud and remained undefeated when he returned home, but every time he crossed the pond, he couldn't put together a first place finish. He placed 4th at Pound 4, 2nd at Apex 2010, and 2nd at Pound 5. He was winning everything in Europe, but it was not enough. He was beating almost everyone in North America, but it was not enough. He was 2nd, and it was still not enough. Armada returned to America for Genesis 2 in July 2011 and beat Bizarro Flame, then S2J, and then PPMD, Hungrybox, and Taj, on his way to a fated Grand Finals rematch with America's best.
It was a really good storyline. Genesis 2, Mango is kind of coming back to Melee again. He had a period of time when he played Mario, Captain Falcon, was not really taking the game too seriously, more going to events to hang out with people. So it was a good storyline there as well, because I still hadn't managed to win a Super Major in the US. I got 2nd multiple times, and now Mango was back as well. And then we ended up in Grand Finals again. So I think a lot of people were very happy about the rematch because we hadn't played a single tournament match against each other in those 2 years in singles.
For the first time ever, a European Smasher took first place on American soil. For the first time ever, Armada defeated Mango in the Grand Finals. For the first time in the US, Armada was not 2nd. But still, it was not enough. Armada kept winning and did not drop a single tournament from Genesis in July 2011 to Apex 2013 in January of 2013. Armada became a god of Melee, but it gets lonely on Mount Olympus. Even though Armada kept winning, even though he was all but unstoppable, Melee was stagnating back home. Armada was on his own, and he was getting frustrated. Just 1 week after winning Apex, he announced his retirement.
It felt pointless after a while. I was like, I'd proven myself for a long period of time. Like, I think I was #1 for like 1.5 years or something, and I won 3 Super Majors back to back. So it's basically like, I need to do this for 6 months to get like 2 days of like enjoyment. And after a while, it just didn't feel worth it. So I didn't stop playing Melee for that year because I didn't like the game. It was just like, I felt like it's not worth it when I have no one to play against.
While Armada was retired in Europe, Smash was exploding in the US. In February, Smashers won a charity donation drive that got Melee back into EVO for the first time since 2007. In October, Travis, Samix, Bootcamp released The Smash Brothers, a documentary detailing the history of Melee up to that point. But Armada wasn't competing in European tournaments. He wasn't seriously testing his mettle against America's finest. Instead, he was spending his time working as a substitute teacher in Sweden.
If a teacher was sick, they called me in and I was taking over his or her classes for the day. It was never anything I was planning to do long term. It was more like a part-time job while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with life. But then no one quits Melee entirely. Like, no one does. So eventually I got, motivated to come back.
Interest in Melee was at an all-time high, and Armada realized that it was finally time to take the game seriously again. Armada still flew out to EVO and Apex 2013 that year. He only played doubles at Apex 2013, but he placed 4th at EVO. He was floored by the outpouring of passion from the community.
Like, when I stopped playing Melee, I was #1. in the world for quite a while. But when I came back, I kind of struggled for a while. Partly like I barely played for a year and everyone else got so much better. I had a lot of catching up to do for sure. And I was also going through depression myself at the time. So that combined with all the pressure and expectations, like I feel like when a lot of other players have been coming back from a longer break, it's always been more of like explanations for why. But I feel like for me, for some reason, it was never these kind of things. It was like the first tournament I entered, it was like, a lot of people expected me to like be back as #1 immediately.
Armada seriously returned to competitive Melee in time for Beast 4, where he placed second. He traveled around Europe, winning tournament after tournament on his way back to reclaim his throne. But things were more difficult than they seemed.
2014 was a very bad year for me, overall, to be honest.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Avalon 3 singles Melee champion is none other than CTEMB.
Armada's return to the US was bumpy at first. With a 4th place finish at Skatar 3, they saw him lose to PPMD and Mewtwo King. But Armada righted the course. He beat M2K for first at Super Sweet.
This tournament is over. Armada is the winner.
Then defeated him again at Super Smash Sunday's lock-in.
Oh, in the most tragic manner imaginable! In the most tragic manner imaginable, Mewtwo ends it just like that.
At MLG Anaheim, Armada faced off against Mango once again, losing 3-2 in the winners finals. He made it back to the grand finals, but once again, Mango brought him down.
Oh man, this could. And that is a destruction! Good back here by Mango. He is currently your MLG 2014 Super Smash Bros. Melee champion!
At CEO 2014, Mango and Armada faced off in the grand finals yet again. But Armada came out on top.
Armada is the champion of CEO 2014.
Only to fall to Mango at Kings of Cali 4 a week later. The next week at EVO 2014, Armada didn't even get a chance to play Mango, as he fell to Hungrybox in both the winners semifinals and losers finals. Perhaps it was an omen of things to come for the two, but Armada's main rival was still Mango. Armada returned to Europe defeated, but he was once again unstoppable on his home turf. His career had come full circle. He was the best in Europe, but couldn't quite make it past the last hoop stateside. In November 2014, Armada signed with Alliance, following a lower than usual 4th place finish at Big House 4.
I feel bad about the performance. I am a very, very competitive person.
Yes.
If I do not place first, that's not enough for me.
Yeah,
which
second place is no good.
That's no good, which means 4th place is horrible.
Then, Armada fell to 5th at Paragon Orlando, his lowest placement since the early days of his career.
Oh my God! Even help! Leffen is still in. Armada is out.
From that point forward, something changed in Armada. Whatever last piece of the puzzle was missing, he found it. Whatever training needed doing, he did it. Whatever he did, it was enough.
Now, dude. Shine. Oh, that's Armada! Armada!
Armada has taken Evo for the first time.
Alliance. Armada from Sweden.
Armada took 2nd at Apex 2015, 1st at MVG Sandstorm, 2nd at CEO 2015, 1st at EVO 2015, 1st at the Big House 5, 1st at Smash Summit, 1st at Genesis 3, and 1st at Smash Summit 2. Armada was, without question, the best Melee player in the world yet again.
When I won EVO 2015, my life overall was just so much better. I was in a much better place. I'd been dating my girlfriend for like 5 months at the time as well. And when I started to feel better as a human being, I could see that in Melee as well. I started to perform much better. And once I won EVO, it was also like a big relief. It was like, I still can win Super Majors. And once I did that, it was just so much easier to like keep performing well.
Then came EVO 2016. Armada was looking strong, but Hungrybox, always a step behind him, shocked the world with a grand finals reset and took an upset victory on Melee's biggest stage.
Whose year is this?
Eats a back air. This is big. He recovers.
Oh, the tournament winner! And Hungrybox presses forward on the gray stick, and that's the end of EVO 2016. Hungrybox, but a miraculous win in
run of grand finals.
Yeah, it was one of my absolutely toughest losses. It's probably my second toughest loss of all time, next to Pound 5 actually. But yeah, it was very rough. Like I wanted to also tie up the 2 Evos. So yeah, I wanted to win that second Evo title, and I also felt like I had it in the bag, which also makes it way harder to lose. If you lose a set very convincingly 3-0, you might be disappointed that you didn't play good enough and stuff. But if you lose 3-2, especially when you're up in the final game, it's much tougher to accept that. So yeah, it was a very emotional loss for me, but HBox played fantastic that day, and he deserved it, and he probably wanted it even more than I wanted, especially since he got second twice in a row. So yeah, he earned that one.
But Armada bounced back. First at Canada Cup 2016, first at Smash Summit 3, first at DreamHack Winter 2016, first at the UGC Smash Open, first at Genesis 4, first at Beast 7, first at Smash Summit again, first at EVO 2017, with plenty of tournaments in between.
Can he even make it back? No, Armada's gonna slap him.
Oh my God!
And we did not see the repeat of Royal Flush.
Wow.
3-1, Armada winning EVO 2017 from winners.
Armada's back half of 2017 has been difficult. Hungrybox has caught up to the Swedish sniper, and other top players started figuring things out. But Armada will bounce back. He always has, and he always will. And when he does, someone will have to get even better to beat him. Because for Armada, second is never enough.
Thanks for watching. If you want more great content, be sure to hit that subscribe button.